Hey guys, and happy Valentine's Day. I bet right about now you're getting ready to go out, maybe gonna have a nice evening in, maybe you're gonna open up your lovely chocolate that you've received. But have you ever wondered where Valentine's Day actually originates from? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in this video. The short answer is no one really knows. There's no one clear story of that is where Valentine's originated from. That's what we'll go with. But let's start in Rome. From the 13th to the 15th of February, the Romans celebrated the festival of Lupercalia. This was to promote health and fertility, and it also purified the city as well. Whilst it sounds like it would be a lot of fun to be there, it was actually quite a brutal festival at the same time. Men would sacrifice a goat and a dog. They would then whip the women in attendance with those animal skins. This sounds really bad, but women would actually line up to have this done to them, as they believed it was a way to make them fertile. I'm not really sure how they're putting that together, but there must have been some logic somewhere. In addition to this, young men would then pull the names of women out of a jar and they would hook up for the night. So it's kind of like a paper version of Tinder, I guess. But obviously if they had chemistry, things could have worked out. It's also thought that the ancient Romans could have been the pioneers of Valentine's Day and could be responsible for it. In the 3rd century, Emperor Claudius II executed 2 men on February 14th in different years, but both men were called Valentine. So I can kind of see the link between Valentine's Day, 2 men being killed called Valentine. Not quite so far-fetched to get that jump. Rumour has it that Claudius actually created a law that prevented young men from getting engaged, unmarried, as it was believed that an unmarried man made a better soldier. However, it is also believed that there was a priest called Valentine who continued to perform ceremonies in secret, which actually led to his death. On top of that, there's an additional legend that whilst Valentine was in prison, he fell in love with the daughter of his jailer. Before he was put to death, he actually wrote her a letter. He signed that letter, "From your Valentine." So that could be where the whole "will you be my Valentine, love your Valentine" phrase has kind of originated from. Could be from that one priest. The third story isn't actually about romantic love, it's about religious love. It was about a guy called Valentine. He was executed for refusing to renounce his religion. So 3 different Valentines, all executed for one type of love or another. These are origins of Valentine's Day. Who knows? Later on, Pope Gelasius I got things a bit muddled in the 5th century by combining Lupercalia and St. Valentine's Day. That was to try and expel the pagan rituals. However, what happened was that it became more of a theatrical interpretation. It was a drunken delight, but it had clothes on. Whereas Lupercalia, back in the day, everyone was naked. It was like a key party, I guess. Everyone was naked, everyone was picking people out of jars. This was just a drunken festival with clothes on. Basically like most festivals we have nowadays. However, it still had its roots of love and fertility, so it never really lost that, which is quite nice. Around the same time, the Normans would celebrate Galentine's Day, and that means Lover of Women's Day. I mean, yeah. We'll have that. Throughout the years, we have our great writers, Shakespeare, Chaucer. They then began to romanticise Valentine's Day, and then it gained popularity through Britain and Europe, and in the Middle Ages, paper cards became tokens of the day. Eventually, the tradition of the paper cards made it to America, and in the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution created factory-made cards and began the birth of Hallmark. They began their mass production in around 1913. You've probably heard somebody say, if we didn't buy the cards, the companies would have no reason to make them. And that is true. It is very much a company-led holiday. It's very much for the consumerism market. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of Valentine's Day. I don't think I've actually celebrated it with my husband. It's not something we're into. As a kid I did, you know, when you're sort of 13, 14, it's very exciting getting that teddy bear, getting that whatever you got. But for me, Pancake Day is the one that I like to celebrate in February. So I can kind of understand where people are coming from when they say, well, if you didn't buy the card, then Valentine's Day would just fall off the face of the earth because no one else would buy them and there'd be no reason. But each their own at the end of the day. In 1969, the Catholic Church revised its calendar and actually removed nearly 100 celebrations of saints whose historical origins were questionable. One of these was Valentine. So as I said at the beginning, people aren't really sure where Valentine's Day originated from, which, if any of the Valentines we've talked about today, is one that actually pioneered this and maybe was the origin of this. Therefore, the Catholic Church went, let's just remove them. Valentine's Day is still celebrated globally. So let's have a look at some of the different Valentine's Day traditions that are in some places still being practiced today. So in South Africa, people pin the name of their loved ones on their sleeves. It's a literal sense of wearing your heart on your sleeve. And this could be a nod to Lupercalia in a way. I quite like that one. I think that's quite sweet. In Denmark and Norway, people write and exchange notes and poems and then they're sent anonymously. The only hint the recipient gets about who has sent this to them are dots. The number of dots on the poem indicate how many letters are in the sender's name. Gosh, imagine getting that wrong, going to the wrong person. That could be embarrassing. In Slovenia, they believe that birds propose and marry each other on this day. And people are actually encouraged to walk through fields barefoot to witness this. That's also a really nice one. These are a lot better than the origin stories of people getting killed. So I'm kind of there for this. In England, women used to pin 5 bay leaves to their pillows so that they would then dream of their future husbands. Now, I've never heard of this. Safe to say I've never done it. But yeah, that's an odd one. If you don't like the smell of bay, then you're probably not going to enjoy doing this one. But yeah, that's a bit of a, that's an odd one, but hey ho. In Taiwan, people would exchange bouquets of flowers. The number of flowers in their arrangements hold symbolic meaning, so fondness, loyalty and eternal marriage are some of the meanings that these flower bouquets could hold. The next one I don't really understand, and I don't know if it's just me being daft, but in Japan, gender roles are swapped and women often make chocolates and gifts and then give them to their partners. So I guess instead of how we do it in the UK, where if I gave something to my husband, he'd give something to me, it's kind of like a two-way thing. I guess in Japan only the men would give to the women, but on this day they switch and the women give it to the men. But then what do the women get? Not sure if I like that one. Only because it sounds like the women really get the brunt end of the deal there. I don't know, maybe I'd have to experience it to understand it. The Welsh carve love spoons into intricate symbols that symbolise the key to their loved one's heart, and this actually dates back to the 17th century. Now, I've seen some of these before, pictures, and they're so pretty. They're just so, they are intricate, they're ornate. It's obviously not something you'd use. I don't think if your partner spent months crafting you a spoon and you then ate soup with it, that'd really go down very well. So let's look at some stats around Valentine's Day. It's estimated that 40 billion Brits celebrated Valentine's Day in 2021, and that sounds like a really huge number. However, this dropped from 41.1 million in 2020. So maybe the popularity around this is decreasing. I know that obviously around that time we were in COVID, we were in lockdown, so maybe people didn't really want to spend that sort of money. Maybe they felt as though there was no need, who knows. But since COVID, Brits have spent 17% less than they did pre-pandemic. So maybe it is to do with the cost of living rather than people not really wanting to celebrate Valentine's Day. But there we have it. That is the alleged dark history of Valentine's Day. As I said, no one really knows where this has originated from. No one really knows where Valentine's Day came from. But there's some possible answers there between people who got executed for various reasons. But I hope you guys have a lovely day, whatever it is you decide to do. Whether you celebrate or not, treat yourself, get some chocolates, and I'll see you in the next one.